Afternoon everybody, Rich here, back for another video for the Diecast F1 review. Here today is the BMW Williams FW26 from the 2004 Formula 1 World Championship, and in the car is Ralf Schumacher. This is a Mattel model. Now the FW36 started off life as sort of a joke or a nightmare, because that nose on the car was just awful. I mean, look at this nose. Compared to 2015, it may be comparable, but at the time it was just bloody awful. I think a lot of people sort of went good God when they saw the car being launched. But overall, looks wise, the car wasn't too bad, although it was a dip in performance compared to their previous 2 years. Fourth place in the Constructors' Championship that year was pretty disappointing for Williams and for BMW. Only one win scored throughout the year, and also a pretty shocking accident for Ralf Schumacher at the US Grand Prix, where a tyre blew, sending him into the concrete wall, and putting him out for I think about 6 or 7 races. But he returned and was pretty much on form straight away. But it was a pretty up and down season for Williams. Montoya, Juan Pablo Montoya rather, was tipped for championship glory that year, but the Williams proved to be difficult to set up, not very kind on its tyres, and just a dog really. BAR and Renault overtook them in the Constructors' Championship, which is a bit of a shock really, considering where they were the previous year. And McLaren also dropped down that year as well, to 5th. So it was sort of an up and down season, although Ferrari pretty much walked away with the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship pretty early. The Williams just lagged behind, and eventually the ugly nose was dropped in favour of a more conventional nose at I think it was either Hungary or Belgium, but the results weren't much better either. The nose proved to be just not as aerodynamically efficient as they thought. I'm sort of puzzled as well how they managed to pass the crash test with a nose that short, but man, they managed to do it one way or the other. But yeah, it was not a good looking car, but thank Christ for 2005 they went back to basics with the nose. And to be honest, the 05 car was pretty basic as well. It did look pretty simple, but that's for another review. Anyway, onto the car itself. Now, like I said at the beginning, this is a Mattel model, and there is 2 versions available. There is, of course, this version, the Mattel version. There's also a Minichamps version. The Minichamps version is a bit more expensive, and well, like you said, a bit more, like you'd expect with Minichamps, a bit more expensive and a bit more better quality as well. I don't have the Minichamps version. My brother does, and I really wish I had borrowed it or stole it for a little while just to compare the two. But never mind. But onto the Mattel model anyway. So we've got the usual bullshit nose, or the walrus nose as most people called it. From the front it did look pretty bad, and yeah, I'm glad no other teams managed to copy that. But the 2015 noses are sort of along the same lines, but down, or much lower noses as well. But sort of compare the two, they are a bit different as well. But yeah. Anyway, around to the side of the car. We do a quick fly over the car, so we go from the nose onwards. We just zoom in a bit. So we've got the front wing and nose section here. Pretty basic design, but then again, this is 2004. And I will try and get hold of the Minichamps version and compare the two, because this Mattel model, although a very good model, probably doesn't have a hope in hell of or at least in comparison anyway. So we've got to look over the cockpit here. Can't see too much in there, the light's a bit shit, and also got the viewfinder facing the wrong way, which doesn't help. That's better. So look around over the top of the chassis here, over the top of the Alliance there, and there's not much going on in the rear bodywork area. I know the car sort of changed throughout the season, but the rear bodywork on this version is a bit simple. I think the Minichamps version does have a bit more detailing on the rear here, sort of a later version, or a later season version of the car. But there's plenty of detail along the rear side pods there, with the bodywork scoops there. But just zoom out a bit and tip the camera up. So I do a look around the rear now, so I look around the back end and try not to break it. So I look around the rear here, so you've got the exhaust pipes, which you'd expect, which are covered by cones, and it's not too bad in detail. I mean, it's not a superb model, but it's not bad for the price. I mean, I think I only paid £15 for this as a buy it now. I think the guy selling it was in a rush to sell it, or he was drunk when he listed it, but never mind. So turn the car back around, we tip the car up. I'm trying to I usually get hold of the nose, but there's nothing to get hold of on this car, so I tip the car up anyway. So we've got the Ralf Schumacher collection, which is unusual. So Got the underside there. There's no writing on the bottom there, but all the writing is over here, but it's all blemished in with the orange or the beige paint, so you can't really see what it says underneath. But hey ho, and you also got some scoops under here. These aren't attached very well. You can see they're pretty flexy and not very well attached. Well, not attached to anything really. Just got one small peg on the wing there, which are holding them in place. There's no structure attaching them to the suspension, so they will probably snap off at one point. But never mind that. And also, it's a zero keel car, or is it? No, it's a sort of double keel configuration. If you sort of look underneath there, you can see that rear wishbone's attached to. You can sort of see there. It's not very well angled. If I turn it up the other way, you can sort of see the rear suspension arms attached to the. Well, I can't really tell. Yeah, you can sort of see from that angle how they attach. This wing's in the way, which doesn't help. So you can sort of see the suspension arms attached to the beams below. So it's sort of it's either a zero keel or a twin keel. It's, however you want to interpret that. It's a difficult one to work out on that one. But it's sort of a mixture of twin and zero. But there you go. How can you have two of one and not enough of the other? But there you go. So got the diffuser there. Not a lot of detail on that, but of course this is early days. Looking through the diffuser there. Look through the rear wing. And yeah, the rear wing is a bit, I think it's bent slightly as well, so a bit of an issue there. And also the tyres are not brilliant. Well, the tyres are typical Mattel tyres. They're the same on every one of their cars. They're grooved tyres, but there's no real texture to them. They're not scrub tyres. They're just sort of brand new, fresh, grooved slicks. But there you go. Also, there's no wheel nut detailing either. They're just painted grey and simple mouldings. There's no detailing on the hubs. Well, the hubs are fine, but the wheel nuts are pretty much non-existent. But there you go. I suppose you get what you pay for. So that's pretty much. Also, that the car doesn't roll very well. Look, it's rolling all right now. This car, this wheel did lock up a bit. So as you can see, there it was locking a bit, but it's all right now. So it is a roller, and you can play with it if you want. You know, go brum, brum. There you go. Or the wrong sound effects. But overall, it's not a bad model. I mean, you can. I'm not sure what the going rate is for an FW26, or a 26 rather. Like I said, I paid £15 for this one, but it was a buy it now, and it was a one-off. You tend to see these ones, whether it's Mattel or Minichamps pop up, they tend to go for silly money. The Minichamps version is very much the rare, and also comes in two box types. It can either come in the open Minichamps box in the Williams colours, basically blue, or it comes in a dealer edition box where you could buy it from BMW dealerships, which is a closed, sort of like the Senna collection box, is something like that, but all white. But they don't come up very often either. But yeah, it's one of the, it's sort of like the Toro Rosso I reviewed earlier. It's a bit of an enigma on this one. It's one of the rarer Williams, but yeah, if you can get hold of it, then by all means. But you're probably gonna have to pay a little bit of money for it, or enough money for it anyway. But I would recommend getting the Minichamps version. If you are willing to spend a lot of money on a model, then the Minichamps version is the one to go for. This is all right. I mean, it's not perfect, but on a budget, it's all right. You know, you can pick it up for a bit cheaper than the Minichamps version, but I'm not sure how much. They don't come up very often, so I can't really compare. But that's all I have to say. Structure-wise, the car is pretty solid. The only issue with the car, like I pointed out, is those wings underneath the front suspension, which are very flexy. You've got these winglets on the side of the chassis here, which are pretty solid. I mean, everything on this car is pretty solid. It's not going to fall apart. That's the only thing I can pretty much vouch for on the Mattel models, is their build quality is pretty it's pretty rock solid. Although they're not as well put together. Well, I say not well put together. They're not well sculpted or detailed, but their structure is pretty good. I mean, then you can drop this and it probably stay in one piece. The detailing isn't perfect, but the pieces will not just snap off just by looking at them. So it's a pretty solid car, and I would recommend it if you're on a budget. Then you know this one is the one to go for. But personally, I would go for the Minichamps version. Excuse me. But anyway, that's my review of this car, and I have got plenty more to come along. Anyway, this is Rich signing off, logging off and disappearing, and I shall return with another review. So, bye for now.